Hi everyone, welcome to the channel. I thought I'd do a video today on Kundalini awakenings, Kundalini and diet. And this is a topic that is very personal, it's very tailored to the individual. So I'm not making like blanket statements about everybody's journey. As with diet, just in the normal situation. But I think so. I'll explain my journey with diet while going through the Kundalini awakening process. There's a few things that I will say that you should definitely consider just cutting out completely, and they are wheat. In fact, most grains. I still eat. I'll occasionally have a little bit of good quality bread. I might still get a pizza sometimes as well, but it's kind of like a one-off thing. It's not something that's part of my everyday diet. So generally, no bread, no wheat. Fried food, massive no for me. It's a really big no. Like deep fried food I'm talking about, and the usual kind of things, anything that's processed sugar especially, is, these things want to be avoided. You want to be eating whole foods, fresh food, fresh fruits and vegetables. I do a lot of juicing, smoothies, obviously organic where possible. I think that kind of goes without saying. There's a lot of there's a lot of poison sprayed on our food, as a lot of people I'm sure will know. In terms of things like veganism, vegetarianism, raw veganism, all these things, I've tried practically everything over the 12 years I've been going through my Kundalini journey for 12 years now, and I've tried practically everything. I just ate a regular, didn't really care about your diet before my awakening. I started shifting it a little bit in the year leading up to my awakening, but generally speaking, my diet was not very good, I would say. But after my awakening, I was, as people will know if they've watched my videos on my journey, I was in a very bad state physically for quite a few years during my Kundalini awakening. And so I was obviously looking into diet, to try and help. And I'd also watched documentaries like Earthlings many years ago, which is a documentary about factory farming and abuse of animals essentially, and a few other documentaries about kind of veganism and vegetarianism. So I slowly transitioned to vegetarian diet, and I was a vegetarian for about 7 years, and eating good, clean vegetarian food for the most part. Like the things I've just mentioned, I'd cut most of that out. And this was always with the intent to go vegan. And for a lot of that time as a vegetarian, let's say the last 3 of that 7, I was practically vegan. It was like I might have cheese once a week or something, but it was predominantly vegan. And then I went fully vegan for about a year and a half. My personal opinion and experience with that diet is that it's not conducive to optimal health long term. It's very cleansing and healing on a short term, kind of clean you out diet, and I recommend it. I do lots of juicing and juice fasts, as I mentioned, water fasting as well. But yeah, I found that after about a year of being on a vegan diet, I started to become very weak. I remember being out for a bike ride and just feeling this mass level of fatigue that was it just hit me on a different level, and I knew I could just tell. I don't know, just like this, like the wisdom of the body, just knew that it was to do with my diet. I'd also noticed like my fingernails were starting to go, getting those white marks on the fingernails, and they would like flaking off quite easily. And I'm not saying that some people might not be able to manage on a vegan diet or thrive, I guess. But for me personally, it did not work, and I ended up having to go, start eating meat again, and that was difficult when you've not eaten meat for what ended up being about 8.5 years for me. It's not easy to go back to that. You've got a lot of emotional investment in being vegetarian or vegan, not having killed animals as part of your diet. But there were a few things that started becoming red flags for me in a way, apart from the health things, and they were things like I would not be able to survive in this part of the world, in northern England, without on a vegan diet, without this sort of global food supply chain. You would just die. I mean, you would just die in nature on a vegan diet in this part of the world during winter. And so that started undermining my kind of belief that it was morally superior to be vegan. That was my belief at the time. And optimal and healthy, the most healthy as well, is what I believe. But I started to feel into the fact of, well, how can there be anything wrong with having to eat a diet that you need to eat to live? I mean, it feels like there's almost a intellectual construct that's overriding the reality of nature, if you see what I'm saying. And so that was my journey. I ended up actually eating a lot of meat for about a year, organ meats, just loads of it. And the first time I ate meat again, I went to it in a very sort of reverent and sacred way, coming back to it, which was beautiful, because that journey of vegetarianism and veganism, I came back to eating meat in a much more respectful way, and I only would get meat that I know exactly where it's from. I would never eat meat, for example, from a takeaway restaurant, or even if I'm out and I don't know where it's from, it's always high quality meat with highest welfare possible that I can find. And anyway, so I ate meat a lot for about a year, loads of it, because the first time I ate it, the first time was a bit weird. It felt very odd. The second time, it was like my body was just so thankful. I felt full, as in, satisfied after a meal for the first time in a long time that I could remember. It was like my body was just like, thank you. So then, as I say, I ate a lot of meat for a while. I feel like it was my body having to catch up, and then it's come to a point where now I don't really eat that much meat anymore. My diet is predominantly it's predominantly vegetarian. Obviously I'm not a vegetarian, and I'm not saying that, but it's like predominantly vegetarian, and I eat meat, depends, in winter maybe a couple of times a week, and maybe fish once, twice a week tops, and in summer it tends to be less. Maybe I'll eat meat once a week, or not, maybe once every couple of weeks, and fish. I eat fish relatively regularly still throughout summer generally, so every week or so, twice a week maybe, and it's kind of settled on that. So that's my journey with diet and Kundalini. The thing I will stress specifically to Kundalini awakenings is your body is going to tell you what it needs, and it might conflict with your what you believe is the most spiritually right and correct diet. the Kundalini process has zero respect for your beliefs. And you can try and impose your beliefs on this process, but if you need sustenance from a certain thing, it's going to show you that, and you know, if you want to thrive and get through the process, then you're going to have to get in tune with that. I'm a big proponent of seasonal eating, as I've just kind of hinted at, and that's where I try and get to as close to as I can now in my life. And yeah, what else is there to say? There might be times early on during the Kundalini awakening where you're literally drawn to eat what you would consider junk food, and this can be a way that the system uses food to ground you. It's important to move. I think as you evolve on the path, you will move beyond that kind of thing. But yeah, you can don't get caught up in judging your diet too much. Honor the process. Honor what your body's showing you. Honor your intuition, and lose the ideologies. That's my advice. You know, I honor people who are taking a stance. I'm completely abhor factory farming, and I do not support it in any way, and I don't support it with my money or my food choices either. Things like that, you know, that disgraceful kind of cruelty to animals is, yeah, it's just horrific. And I understand that some people say, well, yeah, if you're eating animals, you're part of that cruelty, but there is a cycle to life on this planet. The other thing just to touch on, and I think it's important to stress, and I've been meaning to do this video for ages, but I will do a video on the Yuga cycles, because this taps into my understanding of time, my understanding of the spiritual awakening process that's going on the planet, ascension, all that kind of thing. And the Yuga cycles is a Vedic concept. I'm not going to go into it in this video, but it's about the cyclical nature of time. And I believe at this point in that cycle, due to the vibrational frequency that we are collectively operating on, yes, you can ascend your own frequency. Yes, you can step outside the collective grid to a certain degree, but we are in a collective dream here. We're not just individuals, and the collective weight of the time we're in. I believe that we do need some animal products in our diet for optimal health at this time in the cycle. Now, that's not to say within this 24,000 year cycle in the golden ages, or even in the silver age, that maybe in the golden age we don't even need any physical sustenance whatsoever. And yeah, my opinions are always evolving with new information. But yeah, so that's just a little summary of my journey with diet and some tips on what's worked for me. If you've got any questions, I know this is like a big, broad subject, so if you've got any questions, please just leave them in the comments, and I'll do my best to answer them. Or if there's a lot of questions about diet, then I'll do another video following up. I'll also do a video when I feel called, or when I get a chance, on supplements, dietary supplements that have helped me on the Kundalini path. So yeah, I hope this is useful for you. Sending much love and blessings to you. Alright, see you in the next video.